Welcome guys, gals and non-binary pals to this week's episode of Buffy Boys, your weekly review of Buffy the Vampire Slayer from a queer, literary and feminist perspective. My name is Joel and with me as always is my incumbent co-host
Brian. Incumbent, so I'm not co-host yet?
You're the co-host currently.
Oh, okay. Is that what incumbent means? I thought incumbent means soon to be.
No, it's currently holding office.
Oh.
So someone's running against the incumbent president.
Okay. Yeah. Have you been watching the Trump stuff?
I try not to. You need peaks and valleys. You know, you
Pizza
can't.
values, yeah.
You can't kind of pay attention to that stuff all the time, I find.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't really been, but I have a little bit, and it's so funny. Anyone else in the whole world, he'd be out of there.
Okay.
You know what? I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna do something crazy.
Are you sure you want to do this, Brian?
I'm gonna do something crazy. This podcast is anti-Trump. I know, it's wild.
Okay, I might have to cut that out when I edit it later.
I'm not letting you edit. Oh wait, when you edit later, sure, Joel. Yeah, can't wait to hear just like Joel edits for 1 week and suddenly it's one of those like shock jockey episodes where it's like whoop,
smash cooks and soundboards. I need a soundboard for this podcast.
No, you don't.
Brian, I need to ask you a question. It's a very important question.
Yeah, go for it.
The presidential candidate whose first name is Pete. How do you pronounce his last name?
Buttigieg.
Okay. Because I was trying to discuss this individual with someone today.
Most people call him Mayor Pete when they can't.
I got completely brain blocked about it. I just could not call him anything other than Pete Booty Keg. And I genuinely couldn't get back to the road. I couldn't find my way back to the road. I was like, I don't know how.
The homophobes like to call him Pete Butt Chug.
Wow. Because I saw a tweet about him talking about Kobe Bryant and saying that he was a hero on and off the field.
Okay. Wow.
And obviously, you know.
Yeah. Gays don't have to like sports.
Well, see, this is it, because I saw someone tweeting basically saying Mayor Pete occasionally reminds you that he is actually gay. Anyway, we're here, as you may have guessed, talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 3, Episode 20, The Prom. Boo. Do you want to kick us off with a Buffy Ann summary for this episode?
Sure. Okay, so this episode was first aired on May the 11th, 2000... May the 11th. I have 19 here, as in 2019. But it was actually May the 11th, 1999. We can tell because they do actually have the Prince song 1999 in this episode, which is kind of funny. Anyway, it was written by Marty Noxon, who we've spoken about a good bit. She's one of the founding mothers of Buffy, I would say.
Yeah. Founding four persons.
Exactly. And she last wrote Consequences. And it was directed by David Solomon, who last directed What's My Line Part 1. Just in case you want to go off and listen to whatever they did. Or, I probably gave a good summary in those episodes, I would hope. And here's your Buffy Ann summary. My audio setup is so fucked up today. It's so fucking annoying. Anyway, whatever. Xander discovers Cordelia's new poverty and pays for her prom dress. Anya asks him to the prom. Angel decides to leave town. Buffy saves her schoolfellows from hellhounds raised and trained by a social reject. She is acknowledged as class protector. Everyone dances.
Okay, I have to give it to the anonymous author of the Buffy Ann summaries.
Roscovini, go on.
Roscovini, I can't remember their name. That was exceptional.
It was really good.
I want that printed on our the back of our menus at our wedding.
That's gonna be our wedding vows. Yeah. Let me just want to adjust my volume a little bit. Let's see if this is better. Yeah, that should be good.
I presume you're going to leave that in the episode.
Of course.
So yeah, absolutely. So that's it. That's it. Are we needed?
No, I mean that's just the podcast done now. Joel, should we pretend that we have a smooth summary into the bronze banter here, but we don't actually?
Segue.
Oh, that's a summary.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, segue, exactly. We went to see 1917 last Wednesday.
Speaking of something that has smooth transitions from scene to scene, 1917. See what I did there? Yeah, it's 1917. Went to see it last weekend. It is a World War I movie directed by Sam Mendes, who also directed Road to Perdition and Revolutionary Road, stuff like that. Did he direct Revolutionary Road? We had a question mark over that.
He did, yeah.
Okay.
But people like him.
I had a very straight boy moment watching the film. One of my rare, really straight moments where I came out of this like World War I film. I was like 9.7. Incredible. What an incredible story.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about it.
It wasn't a 9.7, but it was very good.
Yeah, I mean, we went to see Knives Out and he gave it like 8.2.
I just, too many knives.
Too many. Yes, this World War I movie had the right amount of knives.
Yes,
instead.
it specifically did. I wanted to see someone get bayoneted, and that was one thing that was missing from the film for me.
Someone does get stabbed with the knife that is their bayonet.
True, very true, very true.
So but the kind of the whole point of this movie is that it is in fact one shot, quotation marks. And that was the whole hype around it, was that it's a technical masterpiece, and it is. It's a really stunning format. Because even obviously it's not one shot. They do plenty of things in the same way that Birdman did, where they will be, exiting a room and it'll go dark naturally for a moment, but that'll be a moment that they'll break shot, or situations where they don't have moving people in frame, they'll just pause the camera.
In terms of the experience, and like narratively, I think it's one continuous shot, which is fair enough.
Except for the fact that it's not. I had a real problem with this fucking movie. It was really impressive, good performances. A bit stilted at times, a bit like for me the content didn't really reflect the format well, because the format was supposed to be this hyper realist thing, and the content and approach was kind of fanciful in a way. But there's just one point where they're like, oh, and then he passes out for 9 hours.
Yeah, see, I thought this was interesting, because this is where
It bothered me so much.
This is where our two styles contrast very much. In this moment, because you didn't see it coming, but it bothered you quite a bit because it
took me out of it.
broke the format. It didn't bother me, but I did see it coming, because it's a film that plays in real time, and they say that they have 8 hours to get somewhere. So immediately from the first 3 minutes, I was like, at some point there has to be a break where either they fall asleep or they get knocked out.
Yeah.
And you didn't see that coming. I just think that's our two different ways of interacting.
I just didn't understand how they're going to approach it. I knew that they were going to do something. I knew that something had to happen, because they kept framing this like 8 hours or whatever thing. It was actually more than 8 hours, I think. But anyway,
8 hours is a good number.
It had I found that the format and the content did not match up for whatever reason. So, meh. And I can't believe that the guy Joe from Pride is pretending to be straight. It's so uncomfortable.
I think you surprisingly liked this quite a bit, actually. And it has that.
I quite like war movies, to be honest.
That's the touch of your father in you.
It is.
Loads of people die.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
No, but specifically, we used to watch war movies together all the time. Like we would watch shitty ones, even like We Were Soldiers and stuff.
Yeah.
Though never The Thin Red Line, which I think is interesting, because that's a really good one.
Your dad is the reason I've seen The Great Escape, which I haven't seen until a couple of Christmases ago. Yeah.
I'm not sure if you'd count that as a war movie. It's closer to a heist movie.
True. Okay, ostensibly yes, but like when something predates genres like that, I think you have to say. I think if you were to get Billy Eichner to shout at someone on the street, they're going to say like The Great Escape is a war movie.
I watched all of Band of Brothers with my dad, and that's stunning and really good.
Definitely.
And like Saving Private Ryan and stuff. Yeah, I actually quite like war movies when they're done well.
This some of the great war movie, Rogue One. But this film has that auteur thing where you have a lot of very well loved British and Irish actors like Colin Firth, Andrew Scott, etc. Cameo, like it's not fair to call
there
it.
There are three of them. It's Andrew Scott, Colin Firth, and Benedict Cumberbatch.
Mark Strong as well. Not as famous as the others.
Yeah, sure.
But who was in Kingsman and
other things,
Sherlock Holmes movies. But like you would recognize him.
Yeah.
Shazam. He was the villain in Shazam recently.
He's bald.
But no, it's not. They're not cameos. It's just they are static stops along the main character's continuous forward journey. But it's just very like, you get to see everyone's really happy to be here today. Everyone had a great time on set.
Yeah.
But no, I thought it was really enjoyable. It's very against your will. It actually gets quite compelling during the end when like
there's a heroic moment, not a heroic moment, but there's the natural I was gonna say climax, the natural crescendo of the piece is like really really visually strong and emotionally strong, and it's a real like.
Yeah, I thought it was a real reminder. So we're recommending it, I think, to be fair. But it was a real reminder of how cinema in so many ways can be like we're still quite animalistic or very basic in terms of how we engage with this kind of stuff. Because the whole film is continuous forward motion and tells us is very important. He gets somewhere before he runs out of time. So as a viewer, you inevitably start feeling that tension and that anxiety of making sure he gets there. It's like you were talking to me recently. We were talking about VR, about how when the first moving pictures were released, it kind of like 110
It
years
was a
ago
train
now.
coming towards
It was
the
train
camera.
and how people screamed and ran out of the theatre. And this is slightly apocryphal maybe, but definitely like people would have had kind of strong reactions to it. I think that sense is still very, very much there. Now I'm constantly jumping and screaming at everything on the television.
Would you sooner nominate Sam Mendes for an Oscar for Best Directing than Greta Gerwig though for Little Women? There's a very right answer.
I would like to see a crossover between those two films.
Okay.
There's a lovely video going around about Greta Gerwig getting a standing ovation and her just like very like genuinely crying.
Oh,
That's just really nice.
oh, poor Greta. Okay.
Speaking of endings,
standing ovations, much better.
speaking of oh god, you won that exchange entirely. Mea culpa.
Thanks.
Speaking of standing ovations, the prom.
Yeah.
Lex
And crying as well.
and crying, and people getting stabbed. No, not really. Let's kick the barn doors off this one. The prom, one of our favorite episodes. Fair to say, everyone's favorite episode. It's not a controversial opinion to say.
Yeah.
The prom, Buffy, be good.
It's one of those great episodes where it doesn't have a huge amount of like authorial intent. It's not a hugely complex narrative piece in the same way that, like, say, Innocent Surprises or something like that. It's just like it's a good old romp. Yeah. And it's emotionally like affecting. It's really good. Sarah Michelle Gellar has referred to it as her favorite episode a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a real example of something which I feel very strongly, which is complexity is not a mark of quality. Peaks and valleys, as I was saying,
especially in TV, where television is a format not designed to be incredibly dense. You know? Yeah,
in many ways, when you can do something which is dense on television and affects the format and you execute it well, it's kind of like, you know, one of those YouTube videos where someone folds a piece of paper so many times it turns it into a knife kind of thing. Like, you're kind of forcing something into the wrong direction, but it doesn't need to be. Sometimes it can be very direct, and this is very direct. But what the prom does, and what Buffy does very well, is oftentimes those moments are playing very hollow in other TV shows. I feel like my format for this podcast has been just basically saying how Buffy's better than other TV shows, but I'm not wrong. You can have, this person's died. No, they're not. They've come back with the cavalry, or that kind of thing. And those are immediate and they're not complex, but they're a bit, they're empty calories. Whereas this is a very direct experience. Buffy is finishing high school. It's coming to an end. It's something which I think primarily is going to be effective and affective for the generation who are watching it initially, because obviously they're teenagers. They're either about to come to the end of high school or have just, in a lot of cases, and yeah, it's just like one good moment that's earned.
Yeah. It's a very nice callback, I thought, to Homecoming. So in Homecoming, obviously Buffy's going on about how she wanted to run for Homecoming Queen because she wanted to feel like she actually existed in school. She was seen. She wasn't just a fly-by-night, I think, but I have it written down. So she says, for one moment I got to live in the world and there'd be proof that I was chosen for something other than this, which is just so like upsetting. Like, she wants a perfect high school moment, and in this episode she gets it. And one thing that Mark Fields points out is that she doesn't get it because she is a perfect normal high school girl. She doesn't get it by being Valley Buffy. She gets it by being Buffy, the Slayer Buffy, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've actually never put that together before about Homecoming. I think it's a very astute point. But what I think it pulls together is that this comes after Buffy having accepted, as Willow very candidly phrases it, that she's not the Slayer just because she was called. It is part of her personality. It is vocational. And I think something about people recognizing her as her kind of true, genuinely protective and assertive self, and having, you know, the laying metaphor of having to create a new category just for her, and class protector, and, you know, it's very, very fitting. It's something where it is, for a character who, outside of being the Slayer, is very normative in many ways. Very much occupies an arguably privileged place in society. It is a fantastically aspirational moment of being accepted for who she is, not for who she's tried to be.
Yeah.
And I think making us relate to someone whose actual textual life experience is so different from ours is really really well done in this episode.
Yeah, and obviously that brings up the fact that like what's happened here is essentially, if you haven't watched it recently, what happens is that Buffy is at the prom. She has spent the whole episode distraught because like Angel has broken up with her specifically. He's not just leaving to go to LA. He has broken up with her first. And by the way, I'm so excited for the Cordelia chase. It's in 3 weeks. But Buffy has basically found out that there are these hellhounds on the loose, that someone is setting them on children or people in formal wear. So she's like, okay, well, I'm not happy, but that doesn't mean that all of you don't have to get to have your moment. So she goes off. She tries to find Tucker. She does the best investigative work of the team, which is important. And Tucker being the guy who's raising these hellhounds to get back at the people
with his complex.
I want to talk about that
okay.
in a bit. I want to talk about that in a bit. But she finds him. She kills his hellhounds with some difficulty. It's actually a reasonably flash in the pan kind of monster of the week, and I think it works very well.
They are palette swapped werewolves, essentially, for this show.
They really are, yeah. But she kills them. She takes care of Tucker, and she takes her formal wear out of her bag and steps into her dress after slaying these things, and gets to the prom. But so the whole class basically, they do all their awards. I don't know what they're called.
Superlatives. I was going to talk about this later on, but superlatives, yeah.
They do their superlatives, and one of them is basically Jonathan comes up to the stage and says, we created a new award this year because there were so many write-ins for this, but we are the class in Sunnydale High who has the lowest mortality rate ever, and everyone claps. And they're like, well, no one likes to talk about it, but everyone knows that there's something weird going on around here. And whenever something weird does happen, the person who seems to help us and protect us and stop us from dying seems to be Buffy. So yeah, Buffy gets class protector, and she gets a little umbrella, which will get horribly destroyed very soon.
Yeah.
But
oh god, yeah.
But it's a really beautiful moment. It's even more touching, of course, because of the fact that Earshot happened a couple of days ago. A couple of weeks ago for the viewer, except that when it aired originally, of course, Earshot had not happened, which must have made the whole Jonathan being there kind of confusing. Yeah,
so specifically, as we watch it now, it's narratively significant that Jonathan, who she saved by kind of talking...
He even has like a verbal callback, because he says, in Earshot, he says, don't talk to me like you're my friend, we're not friends, when she's trying to talk him down from killing himself, from killing other people. And in this episode, he says, when he's opening up, he's saying, we're not close friends, but...
Yeah, I think he actually just says we're not friends, but many of us wish we could have gotten to know you better. It's very interesting. I think along with a lot of Buffy fans, like that umbrella prop is, I don't know, like you wouldn't use it, but it's gorgeous. Like it's a gorgeous idea. I don't know. It's just like it's very unique.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's nice. I will say for any of our, I'm going to say definitely American, potentially North American listeners, but like if there's anything that is something you might assume is just something that happens everywhere and we look at it as completely fucking bizarre, it's the superlatives, most likely to be, etc. It is entirely alien to Irish culture.
And you know what, Joel? We did in my school.
I was about to ask, but then I thought maybe it might turn into a weird poverty thing.
We had a weird yearbook thing, which I
we didn't do it, I don't think. And I went to a very...
You did a yearbook.
We did yearbooks.
And they were like leather bound and shit. But like we did like a little tiny booklet kind of thing, and basically people voted. I got two things. I was second most sarcastic, and the person who got the most sarcastic was kind of person who would be going around being like, "Oh yeah, whatever you say." It's like, that's not sarcasm. That's like,
that's be any more sarcasm.
Exactly. Whereas I have my own unique form of sarcasm. Unique-ish.
Uncool thing.
Yeah. The other thing was most likely to start a cult and be a cult leader.
This is something you want, was it? Mm-hmm. Very good.
As opposed to, and it wasn't joining cult.
No, absolutely. You're Jim Jones.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was proud of that.
So yeah, we got a lot of weird school rituals, but specifically, weirdly, we didn't have that. I suppose like our whole culture was about like
everyone is the most everything.
But you got prizes for everything. Like we went through a phase when I was in school of wearing color coded ties, and the tie you wore illustrated what category you had achieved something in. So like a sporting tie, if you won, I think it was blue, academic achievement was red, etc. Speaking of, welcome to our good and dear friend Dara, who has started listening to the podcast.
I just remembered, I was like, oh shit, did we say anything mean about Spencer and Dara at any point? And no, we didn't. We did say a couple of weeks ago that we blamed them for not getting to go to see Cats, though.
Sure.
And it was for reasons beyond their ability, like their ability to change something about it.
My good and dear friend Dara, who I went to school with, who will be familiar with many of these arcane rituals, has started listening. So it'll be maybe 2 or 3 months before he catches up to this.
Yeah, hopefully.
But welcome. This is Buffy. It's very good.
So the other aspect of this whole prom scene is, of course, this is the first time that anyone outside of the Scooby Gang and whoever is involved in the plot that week, so say Amy, or if in the swim team they're kind of acknowledging that something's going wrong in the swim team that week, it's the first time en masse that people have acknowledged that there's something weird going on. Yeah, and the students even like call out, being like, they're like, okay, obviously weird stuff happens here, and the students are like, hyena people and zombies and stuff like this.
Snyder.
Snyder. It's but it's good. It's good. And it's an interesting mark, and it does build up to what happens in graduation part 2.
Yeah, because like as much as this is like a very emotionally fulfilling moment, you know, you see the craft here, because you do need some launching pad for the students in the next episode, knowing that, you know, demons exist, etc. So it's well laid, and this is weirdly a very relatable in some ways episode, because, you know, they play all the graduation songs, but it's like
they do Celebration by Cool and the Gang. They do what's that other one? Sorry, I have them all written down. So they do Celebration by Cool and the Gang, and Sister Sledge's We Are Family. They also do Praise You by Fatboy Slim, which is wild. The music in this episode is generally kind of interesting. So they also have a song by Cracker, which is that... Do you know Cracker?
I don't know Cracker.
Really mediocre 90s band. They had a song called Low that people quite liked, I think. I think it was actually in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, so I think people have also gravitated towards it because of that.
So are you about to tell me that Lacan said something about We Are Family by Sister Sledge?
No, I was just going to talk... I mentioned earlier 99 by Prince, but also there's a cover of... I'm going to say I Break Horses. There's a cover of Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones by the Sundays here. And that was kind of nice. I was listening to that today again, actually, that cover. Wild Horses is a great song by Rolling Stones, and people in the comments of the Sundays cover were like, oh my god, so much better than the original. And I've never hated people on the internet more than in that moment.
I saw someone commenting recently saying that we're about 3 months away from a horror movie trailer with a breathy female vocalist in a minor key doing a cover of Old Town Road.
Oh my god. Gonna take my horse to an old town road.
Cut to the woman hiding behind the shower curtain as like the cranky man comes in or whatever.
Yeah. Gonna ride till I don't know where.
Or maybe some kind of half horse, half man, but not the half you think.
That song was actually quite good.
Old Town Road?
Yeah.
Yeah, it slaps. People like Old Town Road.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me why the music is interesting in this episode.
Oh, it's not that interesting, but it was more songs in this episode than there are in the whole show otherwise.
Yes, recognizable songs which aren't from like the Bay Area or whatever.
Exactly, yeah. And that like I Break Horses, Wild Horses cover was actually really poignant and sad, and it was lovely because it was wild. Essentially what happens is Angel and Buffy break up. It's very upsetting. We'll talk about that in a minute. But Angel does come to the prom to dance with Buffy and to be with her, and they don't kiss. It's very old soulsy. It's very, you know, they're of course meant to be together and they can't be together. It's very it's a
very mature moment for her, because she does seem to genuinely understand why he has to leave.
And you know what? I actually specifically think it's a mature moment, and that's reflected in the structure of the episode. So, and I'll go on a bit of a rant here if you don't mind. So, please. The monster of the week in this episode is obviously Tugger, whatever his name is. Wells, who is going to be Andrew's brother, of course. So when we get to season 6, this is the guy who Andrew Wells is related to. FYI. But Tucker, specifically, we get a flash at one point where he's like thinking about why he's done this. He's like, I have good reasons to do this. And he flashes back and he has like a nicer haircut, and he goes up to a girl and he's like, do you want to go to the prom with me? And she's like, no.
And that's it.
And that's it, yeah. So in this episode, of course, Buffy has been rejected as well.
Mm-hmm. And
her response to the rejection by Angel is to fall apart, is to deny her own selfhood. It's to say that she thinks she's going to die. And it is also, she says at one point, like, she's saying, no, you can't do this to me. I can't change, you know? So inability to change, of course, being a central theme of the show. Whereby, you know, an inability to change is an inability to grow. It's a choice to embrace eternal childhood or immaturity and, like, you know, become a vampire to some degree. Yeah. So that kind of metaphor rings through there. So what Mark Field suggests is that the reason that Angel turns up in this moment, it's kind of like it's a reward for Buffy for embracing maturity in this episode, whereby she has tried to get past the Angel thing. She's in her moment of grief. She's tried to do what she can for other people and to get over the issue, you know, and try to have an enjoyable night. So yeah, I just thought it was an interesting little reflection that, like, yeah, Tucker's issue is Buffy's issue too in this episode. Yeah,
and once again, it's an example of a man dealing with it in a very shallow way, where she deals with it in a much more emotionally integrated way.
Absolutely.
Speaking of more emotionally integrated, Anya Jenkins has finally arrived in this episode.
Yeah, she really is the actual Anya in this episode, because she spends the whole time talking to Xander at the prom about torture through the ages.
Yeah.
It's great.
And how he keeps staring at her breasts. She always has this thing of, like, kind of talking as if she's not human. Now, I know she's a demon, or she was a demon, all that, but, like, she was a human for, like, 20 years first, you know?
Yeah, but, like, how formative is that really?
Sure, fair enough. Yeah, but I'm happy to have her here.
Me too.
I think that, you know, obviously Anya and Xander's relationship develops in different ways, but I think they're a weirdly compatible fit throughout the show, at the very least in terms of scenes and acting.
Yeah, I think they have great chemistry.
Yeah. And I think it's appropriate that, like, after everything that's happened in the last 3 seasons, that Xander has a positive moment with Cordelia.
Where he kind of apologizes to her a little bit. Or not really, but, you know, he does something nice for her where he
the closest he can. I think, yeah, so it's a really compelling moment for Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia. She maintains a lot of dignity, despite the fact that, like, this is her worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that kind of leads us to talking a little bit about the breakup of Buffy and Angel itself. So it's quite upsetting. What happens is that Buffy and Angel are sitting around, they're canoodling, and that's all nice and stuff. And actually, I can't remember. There's something that triggers Angel to realise that this isn't appropriate.
Joyce comes to see him.
Well, I think that happens a bit afterwards, right? He's already kind of realised it by this point.
I think, you know, he's getting a little uncomfortable just with the fact of her talking and staying in Sunnydale, about her asking him to the prom, just talking about the future in general. But, like, definitely what tips him over the edge is Joyce coming to talk to him and saying in a forthright, but, you know, I think a well-meaning, a very balanced way that, you know, she's older than Buffy and he is much older than Joyce, and they're both adults, and that Buffy can't necessarily see what needs to be done here, and if he loves her enough, which Joyce believes that he does, he'll do the right thing and let her live her life, rather than just, like, never doing anything other than spending time with Angel for the next 70 years or whatever.
Yeah. There's also a very heartbreaking moment where Angel finds a little piece of paper that Buffy's been doodling on, and she's written, like, Buffy and Angel forever on it. It's genuinely heartbreaking.
It's interesting because, like, Angel specifically raises, I think, a very specific question around, you know, love and what kind of intimacy you can have when you are immortal, when you have lived so long, and how that, now it's not a new question, but I think he genuinely characterizes how does that change your interaction with someone who is so young.
Yeah.
And it's funny the double vision we do, because in this episode these kind of latter episodes, with a lot of flirtation between Cordelia and Wesley, which, looking back now, I feel a skeevy about, because he is at most, or at least 28, 29, if not older, and she's 18, and everyone's kind of acting like that's okay. She's literally in high school and he's chaperoning her. But at the same time, Angel's like 276.
And he's going out with Buffy when she was like 16.
Yeah. So it's a weird super imposition we do mentally on this kind of stuff. Yeah.
The breakup itself is like just very upsetting. I mean, like, first of all, the need for the breakup is obviously that, yes, Angel is holding Buffy back, but also they are a danger to each other to some degree. It transitions into being a splitting off into the TV show of Angel very nicely. I mean, it feels like a natural parting. Like, Angel doesn't feel like he can stick around for much longer.
Yeah. So Buffy, you need to understand, I have a contract for a different show.
Sarah, you have to understand that I'll get a lot more money if my name is in the...
He's like, I just need to go far away. LA.
LA could be very far away from Sunnydale.
No, but they're both in...
California?
Yeah, but I just mean like he could go to Tibet. He could go back to Ireland.
Yeah. Joel, you know how many Irelands fit in California?
He could do Ireland, or he could do Angel, but based out of Limerick.
Galway.
Galway, sorry, he isn't Galway.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would watch that. So yeah, but the actual breakup scene I thought had a real reflection of I Only Have Eyes for You.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Where basically Angel is saying these things to hurt her kind of to some degree. Not hurt her, but it's a bit
finalize it, to cauterize the wound a little bit.
Yeah, it's a bit of a go on boy, go. Is it Oh Yeller? Is that the where he tries to
so many, yeah.
So because he knows
I doubt you've ever seen Oh Yeller somehow.
I haven't. I tend not to watch dog movies, to be honest. They are too upsetting. But he tells her that she's like, oh, I want this to be my life. I want this to be forever. And he says, but I don't. And she's just distraught. And Sarah Michelle Gellar plays a blinder in this episode. She's stunningly good. She's just so upsetting to watch. She's melting right in front of you, kind of. Apparently, Sarah Michelle Gellar did break down crying for like 25 minutes on set while recording this. And they had to like stop production for 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm not sure what to take of that. But,
very emotionally invested.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and she has some like really like upsetting lines. She just kind of says things like, how am I supposed to stay away from you? Is this really happening? I'm just remembering that when I was taking down my notes yesterday, I said this to you at the time, but I was taking down that line, how am I supposed to stay away from you? And I looked down at what I had typed, and what I had typed was, how am I supposed to satay away from you?
Were you hungry while you're writing this?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a mature moment for Angel, and it leads to maturity for Buffy, and I think it's very much required step for this show to reach the levels of high quality that it does over time, this breakup. Yeah,
and it's necessary for this season to end with the characters convincingly in a place where they're no longer high schoolers, like you can't go home again. And I think this has to show that they have grown to the point where that can be feasible. And I suppose it is that weird thing that's very poignant about kind of your late teenage years, where it does feel like that the friends you have, the relationships you have, why couldn't they continue forever?
And they're the only things that will ever exist, you know?
And because genuinely, no, it's not. That's not naivete. I don't think it's just emotionally that extrapolates into the future, and there's no reason you can't fathom why it will change, but like it does. And season 4, Buffy couldn't go back to high school and couldn't go back to Angel. She's a whole different thing going on.
The show, like, I mean, it does a great. I mean, it's one of those things that like I think all properties of this age kind of currently like struggle with, is like they like to have a premise and they don't know how to move past their premise, like great TV show takes its premise and moves past it, either with it, like, takes it, runs with it, and then lets it grow. Like The Leftovers, I think it took its premise and really bet into it. Other things just like outgrow their premise so quickly and don't know how to shed it, like the Sabrina TV show or Riverdale or something like that, whereby it's just feels stuck,
Any show,
Glee.
Any show where it feels like that after a few seasons, it's being a soft reboot within the same rung of the show. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, we're back in the old HQ, and it's one carryover face and 4 fresh young hopefuls. Mm-hmm. Like that's just you retreading something that worked better with diminishing returns.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's painful. It's incredibly painful to have to leave these things behind, as anyone who likes good TV knows.
And the 4th season of Buffy kind of reflects that quite nicely as well. Another TV show that does a great job of it, actually, to some degree, is Gilmore Girls, obviously, because Rory leaves Stars Hollow to go out into the world. Returns very often. But It's kind of sad because you do kind of get that sense of Rory going out into the world, becoming an adult, and having all these opportunities, and her mother just doesn't, you know?
Yeah.
And Lorelai is not sad for not having more opportunities in some ways, but her life is more, it has more boundaries and more...
circumscribed.
Yeah. Anyway, you highlighted before we sat down that this is the Calm Before the Storm episode. The Ascension Day is fast oncoming, and this really does feel like an episode where you give the characters a moment to breathe and to interact before you go into your grand finale.
Yeah, and interestingly, I can't lay claim to this being the first example of that, but I think that that's a very common trope in a lot of genre fiction, television shows, even video games at this point, and I don't know what would predate this that would do it so structurally. Yeah,
I mean, like, this is one of the long-form genre TV show. It was very unusual to have, obviously, such structured plot before this.
And you also need
Babylon
characters,
5?
potentially Babylon 5, but you also would need characters who have emotional arcs which are worth resolving before they move forward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think this is definitely in this more accessible present day set kind of setting where there's no institutions, there's no actual war happening, etc. I think Buffy is a great forerunner and great crystallizer of this format, and it works really well. Like, you feel really
I'm trying to think of other examples of this, and it's mostly what's come to mind is Game of Thrones and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones always has like a quiet moment before the big battle, you know.
But loads of stuff that came after Buffy, absolutely. I think there's a big part of that now. But I think this is the first time I certainly remember seeing it. Because like even like big genre shows before that, like the often mentioned like Star Trek Next Generation, those seasons tend to just end.
Yeah.
And maybe there's obviously one great well-known cliffhanger.
Season 4, yeah.
But otherwise they tend to just...
Season 4?
Season 3 going into season 4.
Yeah.
But they tend to just end and then start again. So.
Oh my god, Joel, why aren't we talking about Picard?
Because you wanted to talk about 1917.
You didn't mention Picard. You said you wanted to talk about Succession.
This is true.
You should have talked about Picard. Picard is around. We'll talk about it next week.
We'll watch more next week.
We'll watch more. If you like Star Trek at all, go watch the first episode of Picard. It was good.
It's compelling. Patrick Stewart is really committed to reclaiming the image of Pitbulls.
I was going to say, who's Patrick Stewart, but there's a really nice dog in it. So.
Yeah.
Is he specifically?
Yeah.
One of his...
So that was one of it. His
stipulations?
It's not like he was like, do this or I walk. But like, the reason why Captain Picard's dog is a pitbull is because pitbulls obviously in the UK are involved in a lot of dog fighting and they have a very hostile image and they're often regulated against. And he's...
Same in Ireland.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But he's obviously based in the UK. He works with a lot of UK charities to save dogs from dog fighting rings, to work to change legislation to soften it and rehabilitate their image. And he has like 3. I think one of them is called Ginger Girl, and the other is like called Miss Daisy or something. Like and it's a whole thing from where he grew up.
Yeah.
You know, so like no,
he's by all accounts a great guy. I mean, like a genuine ally for LGBT people.
Yeah.
He is also specifically has worked for years against domestic abuse because his mother was a victim of domestic abuse. Like, I mean, I think one of the prime candidates for absolutely crushing your soul if you found out that he was a bad person.
Can't talk about anything negative about Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
And he does a great performance. Anyway, we'll have watched more next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about
more
that.
to talk about. I'm excited.
So a couple of quick things before you go into the dusting. Angel has a very interesting dream in this episode whereby he is getting married to Buffy. He's wearing some really unusual clothes in it. He's wearing like a really long tux coat.
He's wearing a wedding coat, very specifically.
Yeah, it's a wedding coat, you're right. And it's very unstylish. But Buffy is wearing something that's incredibly stylish. She looks incredible. Do you know who fucking designed the dress?
Go ahead, bro.
Vera Wang.
It's incredible.
Like, oh my gosh.
Who also designed Sarah Michelle Gellar's actual wedding dress when she got married?
Yeah, she did, indeed. Vera Wang must have had like some in on the TV show scenes in the 90s, because there's an episode of West Wing all about a Vera Wang dress. So, and actually I think the title is The Black Vera Wang Dress. Anyway. So
Dream sequence.
They are getting married. Someone had pointed out in one of the things I read that Bible being read from is the common book of prayer, the wedding ceremony, which is unusual because I don't think Buffy's particularly Anglican, and Angel, actually maybe Angel is Protestant. That's never occurred to me before. I don't like Angel anymore.
You know, it actually might make sense if he was a Protestant, unless they reference it somewhere else. But like his father was kind of like had landowner vibes to him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like the fact that he was wealthy in the 18th century,
and the fact that he
Ireland,
could be a layabout.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that he was a Catholic person. If you're listening to this and you're like, how dare they be so horrible towards one religion or whatever? We're not. We're making fun. We're making light of a storied history in the Irish place of Ireland.
Friendly japes between Catholics and Protestants is a big part of Irish culture.
Exactly. So, but I mean, he has a Celtic tattoo. That's very unusual.
Yeah, very brief.
He really likes Ireland, and
very briefly, in that, I actually think what might be more unusual for people who aren't from Ireland is how casually people in Ireland talk about religion. In the Republic anyway, in the sense that I just don't think in a lot of countries they kind of casually just throw out their religious commentary.
Yeah, you're not like walking around in America being like, heard he's a Baptist.
As far as we know. Yeah, Angel's tattoo, he obviously got that after.
Can you get tattoos if you're
I was going to say after he transitioned, and that is not what I meant. I meant after he was turned.
Yeah.
See, this is it. If he gets a tattoo, how do you get tattooed?
Vampires do heal.
Vampires do heal very well. If he could be tattooed by a shaman or whatever, would it fade incredibly after 100 years? Would it be the worst looking tattoo, particularly if he got like a stick and poke from someone in the 1800s?
Mm-hmm.
He gets an A tattoo, so was he planning to do the whole alphabet, or it's like a Sufjan Stevens kind of thing, or?
I mean, if it's an A, then it can't be.
It is an A.
Okay, well, it's not before he turned.
This is what I mean. So it has to be after he's a vampire.
Yeah. Oof. Okay.
It's like a stylized A and a wing or something.
Yeah, it's a griffin. Interesting stuff. But so in the dream, they have their wedding and they're walking towards the light, and Angel's getting worried because they're about to walk out into it, and presumably he's very worried for himself dying. And they get out, and Buffy starts bursting into flames, essentially. So that represents a couple of things. It represents his worries about Buffy turning evil because of him, of the relationship just consuming her, of her like losing herself in the relationship. It probably calls back imagery of hell from when he was in hell. It also, I would have to think, suggests that, you know, he values her more than he values himself, because he's not dying in the dream. His nightmare is not that he ends up burning alive, but that he has more concern for Buffy. Yeah,
and there's a whole thing about her becoming a victim to his vulnerabilities, or him being a vulnerability for her, etc. I think in real life she's kind of terrible at living with him, in the sense that I don't know, in a short time that they're dating comparatively, the amount of times that she nearly sets him on fire by pulling open the curtains.
Yeah, that's true.
Or she's like, I wonder if it's like, it must still be night out, and then you can clearly see even through his thick curtain that it's like bright daylight outside.
One last point before you go to the closing is we have a Robert Frost poem in this episode. Buffy refers very briefly to Miles to Go Before We Sleep, which is from the Robert Frost poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. If you haven't read any Robert Frost, I would certainly advise doing so. He's a very beautiful poet, very depressing poet, but he is very, very good, and I think people should read poetry more and write poetry less. But it's not particularly prescient as a text. You know, it's kind of just like a very widely referred to poem. It's one of those kind of like ones that gets taught in English classes, I would imagine. So I didn't I read it a couple of times trying to see if I wanted to take anything specific from it. I didn't, so whatever. But importantly, it will reappear again in a couple of episodes' time in another dream sequence. So bear that in mind.
No.
All right, should we move on to the dusting?
Let's get dusting. And then we can have, as Buffy says, a post-slaying snap.
Okay, can I give you some Buffy bits?
Hit me.
Okay. So, Tucker Wells is teaching these hellhounds to hate people in formal wear and hate people at proms or dances with by showing them on repeat a bunch of movies. Those movies are Carrie, which Buffy also references in the episode separately, which is obviously the 1974, 76, I can't remember which year, Brian De Palma movie based on the Stephen King novel of the same name, which is an incredible film. It holds up. Go watch Carrie. They also refer to Prom Night 1 and 4, or one of the tapes were Prom Nights 1 and 4. Have never seen those. Don't know anything about them. Pretty in Pink, which is the Molly Ringwald movie from the 80s. Great movie again. The Club, which is a Christian Slater movie, which does not contain any formal wear or dances.
That's just for a break.
Maybe. Pump Up the Volume, which is... Sorry, I've got them mixed up. Pump Up the Volume is a Christian Slater movie with no formal wear or dances. Sure. The Club is a movie from 1984, which doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. I found it very difficult finding information about it. I have no idea where they pulled that one from in terms of like setting that up as a reference. It was very unusual. And I think the only other thing I super want to talk about is two things. One is that Wesley does suggest that he and some other boys used to dress younger classmates up in women's clothes.
Yeah.
And ...
Yeah. And Giles looks at him like he's no idea what he's talking about.
It's very upsetting. It reminds me of the movie If, by with your man Malcolm McDowell.
Not familiar.
Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when Joyce and Angel are interacting, and it's a great interaction, what happens is that Angel says, "Oh, I'd like to offer you some coffee, but I don't have any." And Joyce is like, "Oh, you don't drink coffee?
You don't drink beverages?
You don't drink beverages?" And he's like, "Oh, no, I do. It just makes me jittery."
It's very likable. It's
a really likable moment.
I wonder if Giles and Wesley were in school together.
No. I don't think they go to... he didn't refer to saying we go to... the academy.
I'm not saying that it implies. Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering. I have the vaguest memory of... I think Giles is definitely older than Wesley, right?
Significantly, yes.
That's what I thought. But I have the vaguest memory that somewhere in the non-canon stuff, there's some reference to Wesley being a head boy while Giles is in school. I don't know, anyway. But yeah, that's very good. I thought that there's a bit where Buffy's trying to track down Tucker and where he's getting all his stuff from. Mm-hmm. And she goes to a meat packing factory for some reason. And it's the most helpful forming in the world, because 2 seconds before he's just handing over a bucket of blood to Angel, he's like, "Oh, you're that kid who came in. Here's his fucking address and social security number and a photocopy of his passport or whatever."
To be damned.
Yeah, very, very unconcerned with privacy.
Do you want to hear something interesting about that? Is that there's a truck in the back of that scene, and it's for... I have the name of the company written down. 1 second. It is for the Culver City Meat Company. Mm-hmm. And Joel, their tagline as a company is "You can't beat our meat."
Wow. There you go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, have we talked about the restaurant Dick's Last Resort before?
No.
I might mention it on the podcast.
Is this,
I've obviously never been there, but it's a restaurant franchise in America where the whole thing is basically just the staff are very rude to you.
Oh, that's fun.
It's like their bit.
Oh, okay.
Something I found was interesting is Buffy says to Willow that she can be heartbroken about Angel tomorrow, but right now she's trying to keep from dying. I feel like I can't breathe. I just think Buffy associating not being able to breathe with feeling like she's dying is maybe quite actually traumatic.
Yeah.
In many ways. And she has some great lines against Angel where he's talk about Charlotte's being his heart, whatever, and she's like, "Your heart it's not even beating." And just really going for his taking pot shots at his community, and in Cordelia's dress shop that she's working in, they have these absolutely disgusting suede fabric changing booths that are freestanding. They're like shower curtains, the kind of shower curtain a Victorian would wear to get changed, except made of meat. I really hated them. They really infuriated me.
Well, speaking of fabric, do you want to do some fashion notes?
Please, yeah.
So Willow's wearing a nice catty t-shirt again today. I think that's a consistent theme. Buffy is wearing a prom dress designed by some designer who I noted down, but I don't really remember who it was, but whatever. She looks wonderful. Willow looks incredible too. Cordelia in her silver dress.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely stunning.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah, she's just, I mean, she looks great. Angel looks great in his tux at the end of the episode.
Angel looks okay in his tux.
I looked great.
I think it could have been better fitted.
Fair enough. That was the style at the time, was boxy,
Sure. Yeah,
boxy
no,
formal wear.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Xander is wearing at the beginning of this episode a shirt that seems to have like internal ruffles that are like spilling out the top of it, and it just looks disgusting.
Look, we've all put our shirts on inside out, bro. It's fine.
Yeah, I think that's all my. Oh, and Oz is wearing a really bad waistcoat under his tux, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's very. He
Brown.
looks like an Englishman playing snooker on the television, specifically.
Mm-hmm. Great. Do you want to give us a deck count there, Joel?
Sure. Okay, so we have a few decks in this episode. We have Buffy make short work of the Hellhounds and their leathery non-genitals. One was shot with crossbow. Confirmed kill a crossbow. Woo-hoo! Well done, Buffy. One was killed when Buffy was wrestling with it, and a knife like fell out of her bra.
That was confusing.
Stabbed it.
Yeah.
It was bizarre. And one she like nearly ripped his head off, which was quite violent. A vampire which she summarily dusks for a punchline in the sewers, and the guy who gives the crucial bit of information that is somehow decoded by the Scooby Gangs about formal wear when he's killed.
One point of information.
Yeah. Who is listed in the script as a Tux Boy.
Tux Boy, yeah. He has no other credits online.
No. Well, but yeah, there you go. So yeah, death.
All right. Do you have a rating? I do.
I'm going to say 9.8 ineffective umbrellas.
Oh, cute. What's your reasoning?
It's a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best episodes of Buffy. Hard to argue with. I think the themes, not just of this season, but of the last 3 seasons, have built the foundation that this episode just very effortlessly delivers on. There's a bit of fun in there. Mm-hmm. It's not very heavy in many ways. And everyone just plays their characters to their best. I enjoy watching it. I cried when she got the umbrella. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to give it 9.5 Buffy and Angels Forever.
Oh.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really good. I think I quite enjoyed how the Monster of the Week element of the episode is quite like run and gun. Wait, run and done? One and done?
One and done.
One and done. So, it's brief, but it's there just to throw a barrier for the characters that they quickly hurdle over to get to some emotional stuff. I really liked it. It was good. And yeah, all the characters are playing their roles well and setting up very nicely for the end of the season and for all the seasons to come. It's good.
Yeah, so and leads us very nicely into next week, graduation.
Yeah, graduation part 1.
As my family once were known to say, I'm both Exira and Delira for it. It's going to be a good one. So yeah, I think that's us for this week, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been me, that's been you. So if you enjoyed Buffy Boys, good. If you didn't enjoy it,
It's goodbye from me. Goodbye from him.
So make sure to...
You're supposed to say goodbye from him.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Is this the Chocolate Brothers or something?
No, it's the two Ronnies.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not. My parents aren't as old as yours, so I'm not familiar with that.
It was my grandparents who liked the two Ronnies. Anyway, go on.
So thanks so much for listening. If you liked us, please tweet us and let us know. Tell your friends. Tell your dress shop manageresses, and we will see
Fickles.
you, Mrs. Fickles. We will see you next week on Buffy Boys.
Buffy Boys. That's it.
See ya.
It's on.